Here at the charity, we're frequently asked about symptoms and coping and how to manage in your daily life with DPDR. So we spoke with leading expert psychologist Dr Elaine Hunter to talk about grounding, what it is and how you implement it in your life.
Yeah, so people often ask about grounding strategies, and people have often been given some ideas about things that they can use. I think it's good for people to customise that. There are things that you can kind of take off the shelf, but I think it's about finding things that really work for you, and you might actually be surprised that you're already doing things that are actually grounding strategies. So what I usually ask people to do is I'll go through some categories of different ways you can ground yourself. And what I would suggest that you do is have a think about what things you may be already using, what things you could try, and try and have maybe three or four different types of categories of grounding that you want to practice in advance of needing to use them. So that's kind of quite key, that you want to have these things that you practice so that when you need them, you can use them. I say it's a bit like learning to do the emergency stop on a car. You don't want to wait until you need the emergency stop. You want to practice it in advance, and you start to make these associations. So the first category, which is often the one that people have heard about or know about, is using aspects of your surroundings. So that's number one, surroundings to help ground yourself. So what I mean by that is that you can use things around you to kind of just embed yourself more in the here and now. So you could use the room that you're in, describing what's that like the opening chapter of a novel. You're situating the character within their surroundings. So you might be describing the shape of the room, the light that's coming into the room, the objects in the room, the colour that's in the room, etc. Or if you're outside, doing the same thing when you're outside. So you can use your surroundings and really notice those things and put yourself in that scenario. The other thing that you can do, category 2, would be time, because time is very precise. You're in a particular moment of time. So you can use the minutes, the hours of the day, what day it is, what time, what part of the week it is, what week in the month, the seasons. You can ground yourself in time as well. The third thing that you can do is think about yourself in terms of location. So I often get people to think about themselves like a Google drop pin, and just think you are on the planet in a particular location, and then you can really think about, where am I exactly, and then expand out from there as though you're sort of zooming out. So I'm in this particular room, in this building. So where is the building? Where is it on the street? And where is that in terms of that neighbourhood? And where is that neighbourhood in terms of the larger picture? And where is that? And just keep expanding out so you can kind of anchor yourself in a particular location. Then you can also anchor yourself more internally by using your body. Now this is a really key one, and there's some of these that I think it's definitely worth practicing. So by anchoring yourself in your body will always be in contact with surroundings. We're not floating around, but we can actually feel those points of contact to anchor ourselves. For example, you can use a little acronym called FOFBOS, feet on floor, bottom on seat. And you can just use those bits where you can feel points of contact. So where I'm sitting now, I can give a little bit of attention to where I'm sitting, and my arms touching the arms of the chair, or your feet on the floor. And so I particularly like grounding strategies that are very subtle. No one would know you're doing them, but you can just slightly bring some awareness to kind of tether yourself or ground yourself. I sometimes think of grounding as a bit like putting a tent down and putting the guide ropes down and pinning it in, so you're feeling kind of on the ground. So using your body and dropping into your body the points of contact. You can also use your breath in a similar way, because you will always be breathing in and out, and just bringing some awareness to your breath. You don't necessarily need to change your breath, but you can use your breath to ground yourself, just bringing your awareness to your breath, much as you might do in a mindfulness practice. The next 5 categories are all about your senses. So you can use your vision. And we talked about looking at things around you, but you can also use vision in terms of looking at things. So most of us have our phone with photographs on. You could use some photographs that might anchor you into terms of who you are, people around you, photographs of family, friends, maybe photographs from the past that you can remember those times, kind of a sense of anchoring yourself through visual stimuli. Photographs are the most obvious one, but you can use other things as well visually. You could look at pictures that you particularly like, for example, that maybe you find calming or anchoring in some way. Another one that's a really key way of grounding yourself is through smell. So smell is actually a very powerful sense, and we can learn to associate particular smells with feeling very anchored and grounded. Now usually I get people to think about smells that have a particular meaning for them. So that might be particular perfumes or smells that you have a resonance with. So working out what those might be, and then finding a way of carrying them around with you. And again, it can be quite subtle. You might even be able to put a little bit on your clothing, for example, and then if you felt a little bit ungrounded and needed to ground yourself, you could actually just release some of that smell. So we've got vision, we've got smell, we can use taste as well. So there might be particular tastes that make you feel a little bit more grounded, things like, I don't know, sort of a strong peppermint, for example, something like that. You can use touch as well to ground yourself, so that can be the sensation of touch, and the other sense that you can use is sound. Again, that can be the sounds in your surroundings, but you can also use music. There might be particular pieces of music that you can use to change your mood state, or that might have a particular relevance, so like your own sort of desert island discs, or the soundtrack to your life. And actually listening to music can really help ground you and anchor you as well. And then the last categories are that you can use posture. So you might have a particular posture that just makes you feel a little bit more in the moment. You can use imagery. So you might have images that from the past, or a sort of special place imagery, something that is a place that could be real or imagined, that makes you feel very grounded, very calm, very safe. Another really important way of grounding yourself, as one of the key ones, is actually using objects. So you want things that are very small, easily transferable, that you can carry around. Now, probably the most classic one is using pieces of jewellery. So it might be a watch or a necklace or a ring. They usually have some meaning and association that can help you to kind of feel like part of who you are, or connected to who gave it to you. Maybe it was a special occasion that you were given that. So objects like jewellery are very useful, but it can also be things like your phone, or your keys, or a key ring, or some little memento even. And having something that is of a personal significance to you, that you can carry around and kind of make a connection to if you're feeling very disconnected, can be very helpful. So the last category would be statements that you can use to help you feel that these feelings that you might be having are a little bit more temporary, or statements about yourself that make you feel a bit more stronger, a bit more empowered. And you can just spontaneously say them, obviously, but I suggest it's quite nice if you want to record some things and maybe have them on your phone and listen to yourself. So you could give yourself a little pep talk and actually have that as a recording that you can listen to. So There's lots and lots of ways and tools that you can use to ground yourself. So as I said, it's at the top. It's a good idea to practice some of these things and use a few different types. And you may find that some work better in certain situations, but they're just little techniques to kind of help you to draw back from the disconnection, draw back from the dissociation a bit, and help you to feel a little bit more grounded.